COVID-19 pandemic has impacted all of us in some or the other way. If we specifically talk about cybersecurity, there were a lot of reports floating around which claimed that in India, the number of cyber attacks in 2019 was something around 4 lakhs, and in 2020, the number of attacks rose to something around 12 lakh cases, which is roughly 3 to 4 times the number of cases which were there in 2019. India became the favorite destination for all the cyber criminals, right? So before going into the detail what really happened in 2020, let us first decode some common terms which we are going to be using in this particular video. The first term that we are going to understand is cyber security. What do we really understand by this term? It is nothing but protecting the cyberspace, including the critical information infrastructure. What exactly are you protecting? You are protecting your critical information infrastructure from any kind of attack, any kind of damage, any kind of misuse or economic espionage. So now we need to also understand what do we understand by the term called cyberspace. What exactly is cyberspace? Cyberspace is nothing but a global domain within the information environment consisting of everything that you require to get connected to the internet. That means essentially the entire technology infrastructure, the internet, telecommunication networks, computer systems and embedded processors and controllers together form the cyberspace, right? And when we talk about what exactly is a cyber attack, it is nothing but a malicious and deliberate attempt. It is an attempt by an individual. It can be done by an individual, or there can be an organization actually doing something to maliciously take your information, right? Misuse your information. It can be there can be a breach of the information system of another individual or an organization. So it can be an organization versus an organization, or it can be vice versa, an individual versus an organization, or all those permutation combinations can be there. So now, since we understand these basic terms, let us see what exactly happened during the pandemic. Why is this particular topic relevant for us? There were a lot of reports, as I said. Some of the reports said, beware, cyber security attacks in India grew 194% in 2020. There were other reports mentioning 45% of the Indian online users were hit by the local threats in 2020. Almost 300% rise in cyber security attacks in India in 2020, government tells parliament. So there was constant feedback which was going through and everybody was talking about this issue, right? There were other reports also which said cyber attacks surged threefold to 1.16 million last year in India, right? Apart from this, COVID-19 Indian companies reported over 25% jump in cyber threats. So here we can clearly see almost every newspaper had reported that there was a huge rise in the number of attacks that happened in 2020. But why did this happen? You know, when everybody was working from the offices, why was this issue not in such a big proportion when vis-a-vis when the people were at homes? So the biggest weakness which was explored or which was exposed during this time when people were in lockdown, people were working from homes, was that entire population which was working from home were away from the firewall system of their firms. So these people were not within the firewalls of their own firms, which led to the increased security incidents. And this also exposed the weakness of the current cyber security policy of our country, which was there given in 2013. The government is already working on a new cyber security policy, but till now it has still not been given away, right? Apart from that, we saw nearly 1.16 million cases of cyber attacks in 2020, which was around 3 to 4 times an increase with respect to 2019 and more than 20 times as compared to 2016. So clearly a huge number of cases were seen in 2020. On an average, 3,000 cyber attacks, cyber related security issues were reported every day during the year, right? So huge number of increase. Now let us try to understand this graph. Talking about 2017, the number of cases were only 53,000. In 2017 entire year, the number of cases were only 53,000, which increased to 2 lakh in 2018. Now after 2018, we can see the numbers doubling up. up. In 2019, we see that the number from 2 lakh has now increased to 4 lakh. It is a big increase again, right? But look at 2020, from 3 lakh, so from 4 lakh cases, suddenly the number has jumped to 11.58 lakhs, which is a huge increase, right? Nobody knew that this could be such a big threat. Everybody was very comfortable working at their homes, right? There was a survey conducted with the employees across organizations in India, and very alarming revelations were there. 66% of the people who were working from home, they said that yes, we have faced at least one data breach. Security experts observed a 500% rise in the number of cyber attacks and security breaches. 3 to 4 times rise in the number of phishing attacks. Phishing attacks are basically those attacks, it's a kind of cyber attack which happens where you get an email, you get sometimes a call, or you get a message. You get that message and it seems to be from a legitimate institution, and that legitimate institution actually asks you for some kind of information which is private, and you are not able to differentiate whether that institution or whether that mail is from a legitimate institution or an illegitimate institution, and you give your information to that person. You reply to that email, you click on some link, and your all your personal data gets breached, and everything, whatever information that you wanted to give, it is given to an illegitimate organization. Those number of attacks were increasing. If we talk about which sector was the most affected during this time, we could see that banking sector number 1, healthcare sector, and educational sector. These 3 sectors were the most affected sectors during 2020. That essentially means that since COVID pandemic was going on, a lot of information of the people who were seeking medical help, who were in medical hospitals, who had registered somewhere in medical institutions, their data was breached, their personal information was taken out. Even in educational sector, since everybody moved to online education during that time, even now most of the people are working on online education. So kind of that situation led to the worst attacks in these sectors. If we talk about what the government has been doing, the government in response to 2020 clearly stated in the parliament that a lot of efforts are being made and the government is on the right track. So what exactly is the government doing? There are some critical initiatives which you should be knowing about. There are a lot of initiatives, but I have shortlisted some of a few initiatives which are very much important for us to understand. The first initiative is the establishment of CERT-In. What exactly is CERT-In? CERT-In stands for Computer Emergency Response Team. IN stands for India, and it operates as the national agency. So India has the national agency which is responsible for tackling all issues with regard to cyber security. Number 1, which is most important, it has helped in lowering the rate of cyber attacks on government networks. The implementation of anti-phishing and cyber security awareness training across India's government agencies has assisted government employees in fighting against cybercrime. So this is one of the initiatives that is very important. Apart from this, apart from spreading awareness, the dangers possessed by phishing attacks also to the public. So whenever there is a new attack which happens, CERT-In is an organization which promptly tells the world about it, tells the nation about it. They have their own website. So whenever there is a new attack that they find, the new technique that they find, they will upload that information on their website so that everybody around them knows, and they try to spread awareness so that people know how to be aware and how to avoid these kind of attacks. Right, so CERT-In is the first initiative that the government has taken, which is very important. Apart from that, Suraksha Bharat. This was also an initiative which is the first public-private partnership initiative that the government has taken with respect to cyber security. What the government is trying to do is trying to bring in industry experts from companies like IBM, from IT companies, so that they can come and tell how the government can save their people, how the government can save its own data from security breaches. So all of that is being done under the Suraksha Bharat initiative. This program was in association with the National E-Governance Division, and it is the first public-private partnership model which is undertaken under the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, right? So this is the Suraksha Bharat initiative. Apart from this, they have established NCIIPC, which is National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center, where the government actually tries to protect critical information, right? NCIIPC is a central government establishment formed to protect critical information of our country, which has enormous impact on national security, economic growth, or public health care. So all that data which is with regard to national security, economic growth or public health care is specifically taken care under this particular initiative. This organization readily conducts cyber security exercises to keep a check on the cyber security posture and preparedness for the government and critical sectors, right? So all of that is done. So for example, there was an attack on the Kundankulam nuclear power plant. So that particular power plant comes under the purview of NCIIPC. So NCIIPC is working on ensuring that the critical information or the critical infrastructure is not compromised, right? All of that is done under this initiative. Apart from this, there are many other initiatives that I can talk about. For example, there is cyber Swachhata Kendras also, which are developed by the government. They are working on a crisis management plan also. So there are a lot of things that the government is doing, but some of the issues are not working very efficiently. So government needs to first of all brush up all those things. And apart from that, recently there is going to be a national personal data protection bill which was tabled in the parliament in 2019. It is still not passed by the parliament. It is under review by a joint committee, but this particular specific bill can change a lot of things, right? Let us discuss what exactly is Personal Data Protection Bill of 2019. So this particular bill has been given approval by the Union government in order to protect Indian users from global breaches, which focuses on data localization. So this particular bill focuses on data localization. What essentially does it mean is, for example, we are giving away a lot of information on Facebook, we are giving away a lot of information on Instagram, and or you can say Twitter, right? All of these companies are not Indian companies. So what happens is, sometimes the data of Indians is colonized by these companies which are located outside. Their data servers, everything is located outside India. So what they do is, their Indian people's data is being taken from India to, let's say for an example, it is taken to USA. So now entire rights to be worked on those particular data, the rights belong to companies like Facebook, like Twitter, like Instagram. So with this particular protection bill, what the government is trying to do is that they will categorize the data under three heads. They will divide it into three types of data. One is going to be general data, then sensitive data, and the third one is going to be critical data. So what will happen is, sensitive data has to be stored in India but can be processed outside with consent, right? So the three types of data: general data can be taken out of India, no problem. It can be processed out of India, no problem. But when we talk about sensitive data has to be stored in India, but it can be processed from outside India. That again is no problem. But when we talk about critical data, under critical data, what they have said is that this particular data will not be, any company will not be able to take out the critical data of Indians to their respective location, and even they cannot process it from outside India. So global issues, global breaches, somewhere the country, with the help of this Personal Data Protection Bill, is trying to reduce, right? Apart from that, what will happen is, the data can be processed or shared by any entity only after the consent. So as of, if I take my own example, my personal data can be processed by any company, but I will have to give my own consent. Only then this processing will be done, right? So this is kind of some processes which the government is trying to bring in. For example, if the government or if any company XYZ shares that particular data without your consent, what will happen is, there will be a fine of 15 crore or 4% of global turnover is the kind of fine that has been mentioned, which is a huge number. So all these companies will have to work on all these issues. If there is a data breach, right, if there is a data breach or they have not taken any action with respect to the data breach, then there will be a fine of 5 crore or 2% of the global turnover. So this is what exactly is there in the Personal Data Protection Bill. It is still kept with the joint committee. It has still not become an act. We hope that it becomes an act as soon as possible, because after 2020, we all understand how important this bill is. The bill implies the storage and processing of any critical information relating to individuals only in India. The entire information that is there about Indians, their personal data, has to be stored in India itself. No country can take out the data from India. There can be no data colonization, right? Data localization is going to be talk of the town. So this is why this particular bill is very important, and as soon as this bill comes, we hope that there will be a lot of issues, so a lot of issues will be solved as soon as this bill comes out. So this is what I want to talk about in this video today. I hope you enjoyed today's lecture. For more such videos, please subscribe to the channel. Take care. Thank you and bye-bye.